Have you ever wondered what your grandparents ate when times were tough and wallets were thin? Today, we are diving into 10 forgotten poor man sandwiches your grandparents ate to survive. If this hits your nostalgia, make sure to like, share, subscribe, and drop a comment. Number 1. Bread and milk sandwich. Have you ever wondered what survival tasted like during the hardest years in America, when every penny mattered and every ingredient meant something? The bread and milk sandwich was one of those humble classics, born from necessity, not luxury. Picture a kitchen in the 1930s or early 40s. Cold outside, coal burning low, and a parent quietly softening slices of bread with sweetened milk just so their kids would not go to bed hungry. No frosting, no fillings, no fancy spreads, just bread soaked in milk, sometimes dusted with a little sugar or cinnamon when the family was feeling lucky. And here's the real kicker. Even though it sounds unbelievably simple today, back then it felt like comfort, a warm hug disguised as a meal. Seniors who lived through the Depression or wartime rationing still remember the taste, the texture, and the feeling. Number 2. Chicken salad sandwich. Have you ever heard a grandparent talk about a meal that stretched farther than money ever could? The chicken salad sandwich was that quiet hero. The one that showed up when the family was trying to make one chicken last days, not just dinner. Picture this. Sunday dinner was roasted chicken. Monday became soup. And by Tuesday, whatever bits were left, the tiny pieces clinging to the bones, were chopped fine and turned into chicken salad. Nothing wasted. Not ever. Some families added celery for crunch, or hard-boiled eggs if they had them, or even apples to stretch it without anyone noticing. Mayo tied everything together, though some folks swore by mustard or sweet relish depending on where they lived. Then it spread onto soft bread, sometimes with crusts cut off when there was company, sometimes just slapped together for workers heading to the fields or the factory. Number 3. Mock chicken sandwich. Now here is a sandwich with a story. The mock chicken sandwich. And it begs the question, what do you do when you crave something you cannot afford? You get creative. During the Depression and wartime rationing, real chicken was expensive, sometimes impossible to find. So families got clever, grinding cheap bologna, crackers, and seasoning until it looked and tasted close enough to chicken salad. Some added a drop of yellow food coloring just to give it that golden chicken hue, and others seasoned it with sage, celery salt, or onion to mimic that Sunday dinner flavor. And here's the wild thing. Kids growing up in the 40s, 50s, and even the early 60s sometimes never even realized it was not chicken. To them, this sandwich tasted like a treat. Smooth, creamy, savory, sometimes slightly sweet, and always filling. Seniors today chuckle when they talk about it, remembering that moment when they finally learned the truth, that their chicken sandwich never met a chicken in its life. Number 4. Ham and cheese sandwich. Have you ever looked at a simple ham and cheese sandwich and thought, there is no way something this basic could have history behind it? But for families living through the Depression, wartime rationing, and the lean years that followed, this sandwich was more than lunch. It was strategy. Ham was precious, and every slice had to stretch. Some mothers would shave it paper thin, almost see-through, and layer it carefully with just one slice of processed cheese to make it feel fuller than it was. A dab of mustard or mayonnaise wasn't just flavor, it was filler, helping the sandwich feel complete when the protein was scarce. And here's where memory hits. Kids who grew up during those years remember watching their parents spread that mayo all the way to the edges, like they were painting on hope. Number 5, chicken liver sandwich. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you saw someone willingly make a sandwich out of chicken livers? Probably never. But for our grandparents, especially during the Depression, the chicken liver sandwich was not just food. It was survival with dignity. Back then, when a family bought a chicken, nothing, and I mean nothing, went to waste. The livers were cooked gently with onions mashed or finely chopped and mixed with a little mayonnaise or fat to stretch it further. Sometimes a boiled egg was added if the family was lucky enough to have one. The result? A rich, iron-packed spread that filled stomachs and kept families going through long days of hard work and cold winters. Seniors who remember eating this do not talk about it like a punishment. Instead, they describe the flavor as deep, earthy, comforting. Number 6, anchovy paste sandwich. Now here's a sandwich that will make most people today raise an eyebrow and say, "No way." But back then, the anchovy paste sandwich was a quiet lifesaver. Salty, bold, and cheap enough to feed a family when protein was almost impossible to afford. Picture a working-class kitchen in the 1930s or 40s, Dad heading to the mill, the fields, or the factory, and Mom packing lunch with whatever she had. A tiny squeeze of anchovy paste, spread thin over buttered bread, carried enough flavor to make the whole sandwich feel like something substantial. Some families added a slice of boiled egg if they had chickens. Others added a little onion or lemon juice to mellow the sharpness. Because the flavor was so strong, one tube could stretch across weeks, making it one of the most economical flavor boosters of its time. Seniors who grew up with these sandwiches often talk about them with a half laugh, half nostalgic sigh, because while the taste may have been intense, it also meant you had lunch that day. It was survival disguised as sophistication. Number 7, curried sardine salad sandwich. Here is a sandwich that makes people today stop and say, "Hold up, curry and sardines? Together?" But during the 1940s through the mid-century years, this curried sardine salad sandwich was proof that even in hard times, creativity did not disappear. It evolved. Picture ration books on the counter, grocery stores with empty meat shelves, and mothers determined to make something nutritious, flavorful, and filling from what was left. Canned sardines were cheap, shelf-stable, and packed with protein. Add a hard-boiled egg if you had chickens, a scoop of mayonnaise, a squeeze of lemon, maybe a chopped onion or celery stick, and suddenly that little can turned into something bigger. Then came the twist, a pinch of curry powder. It was exotic back then, something new, exciting, and just mysterious enough to feel like a luxury. Number 8, Monte Cristo sandwich. Now here is a sandwich that makes you stop and think, how did something so fancy become poor man food? The Monte Cristo is one of those rare survivors from tough times. A sandwich that looked elegant, tasted rich, and yet came from pure necessity. Imagine a kitchen in the 1950s or early 60s. Leftovers on the counter, a few slices of ham or turkey, maybe a bit of cheese that needed using up before it spoiled. Instead of wasting anything, families layered those scraps between bread, dipped the whole thing in beaten egg, just like French toast, and fried it until golden and sizzling. Sometimes it was dusted with powdered sugar or served with a little jam because sugar was cheaper than meat, and sweetness made it feel like something special. Number 9, olive loaf sandwich. Ever walk past the deli section today and see olive loaf sitting there, lonely, ignored, and wonder how it ever became a thing? Well, for earlier generations, the olive loaf sandwich was not strange or forgotten. It was survival dressed up to look like something fancy. Back in the 1950s through the 70s, processed meats became affordable, mass-produced, and dependable. And olive loaf was one of the cheapest. Ground pork or beef blended with spices and dotted with bright green olives and red pimentos made it look expensive, like party food, even though it was budget eating at its core. Families would layer thin slices onto soft white bread with mustard or mayonnaise, sometimes adding lettuce when gardens allowed it. Kids opened lunchboxes with pride because olive loaf looked colorful, special, different. Number 10, Sloppy Joe sandwich. Ever take a bite of something messy, warm, and comforting and feel like it carries a whole generation's story with it? The Sloppy Joe sandwich is exactly that. A dish born from tight budgets, resourcefulness, and the belief that even hard times deserved flavor. Picture mid-century kitchens where meat was expensive, families were large, and waste was not an option. Ground beef was stretched with tomato sauce or ketchup, onions, spices, sometimes even oats or breadcrumbs, just to make it go further. The mixture simmered until thick and savory, then spooned onto soft hamburger buns, steaming, saucy, and impossible to eat without dripping a little. These forgotten sandwiches carried families through the hardest years, and their stories deserve to be remembered. If this brought back memories or curiosity, like, share, subscribe, and tell me in the comments which one you dare to try today.